Good morning, this is 4046. Do apologise for lack of content in last week. This week has been quite a action-filled week, and going forward I'd like to continue to make a more regular content, as I'll be back in my job soon, as I've had a leave of absence. Today's video will be about anxiety. I feel it prevalent to talk about anxiety today because obviously, having been away for some time, going back is always a difficult thing. But back to anxiety. Most of you will have anxiety during your life. Some of us suffer from anxiety more than others. I didn't even realise what anxiety was until my adult life. I didn't start feeling it until I was a teenager. I didn't even know what it was. Just this feeling that you get about events beyond your control being something that you could not change, although with becoming an adult it becomes a little bit easier to sort of give it the scope. I think as you're transitioning from being a teenager to an adult, it probably overcompensates. Some people deal with it a lot better than others. You need to develop coping mechanisms. What is it exactly? Well, as I said, it's a dread of things beyond your control, and some people suffer from it more badly than others, just like anything really. The problem is things like anxiety mar up with other things. Like if you suffer from depression, it amplifies it, as they're not good bedfellows. The same can be said for stress. In this particular case, stress and anxiety are dreadful to be together, so much so that in my particular case it manifested physically, which had precursors to it, but in this particular case nothing like what it did to then take a leave of absence from work. In my particular industry at the moment, it's a very stressful time. There's an industrial dispute going on, so it doesn't really narrow down exactly what it is. The company I work for are not particularly happy to be exposed in a light, so I will admit what it is, exactly whom it is. But saying that, anxiety is not hopeless. It's not a death sentence. It's not something that you can write yourself off. The best way to do it, I suppose, is, yes, you may be stuck with it always, but if you can manage it as best as you possibly can, that's the next best thing. There are meds that you can use to manage it, but for me personally, the particular meds they gave me didn't do anything at all. A lot of people reported to me that they've been on meds and it balances it, because anxiety is more or less a chemical imbalance in your brain, just like stress, just like to depression. It's amazing how a chemical imbalance can create so much melancholy in the brain, and then you feel it. So managing it is the key to success. It's not. It's I don't know why the human brain is wired the way it is, because if I knew, then I'd probably have a PhD or something, or have knowledge a couple of 100 years ahead, but I don't. The best way to manage it is via a management system. There are different ways of doing it. As I've said before, it's very similar to the other two that I mentioned. You need to know what it is. If you don't know what it is, so if you don't know that you're suffering from anxiety, that amplifies it. Once you know you've got anxiety, you can at least start to deal with it a lot. I mean, it's I suppose general knowledge, but understanding is the first key to solving the problem. If you know exactly what's causing your anxiety, then the best way forward is, if there is anything you can change in your situation, then do it. Not everything can be sorted. There's the cause of mind, sadly, cannot be fixed quickly. There's a number of factors, as always with things, but the things that I can change, I will do. I mean, I'm going for a period at the moment where it's a little bit unprecedented, to be fair. I was hoping to manage to solve all my issues whilst been off, but sadly that isn't the case. However, just like with depression or stress, you can relieve these things, because letting them build up is the worst possible thing you could ever do. I mean, counselling, as I've said before, could help, and if you don't know you've got anxiety, then said counsellor should pick up on the fact that you have. If you're lucky enough to work for companies that would pay for it, I would pull the trigger, because it will help. There's a few people to me that I've said in the previous video that have said, oh, counsellors don't work for me. Well, they do. It's just the fact that you haven't found the right one. And there's a counsellor out there for everybody. That sounds a bit cheesy, a bit corny, but it's very true. Things like exercise, just like with stress and depression, does work to an extent, because if you're running, walking, doing a strenuous activity, it helps to clear your mind. That's the problem with things like anxiety. You get a chatter, and luckily for me, it's not as bad as, I mean, one of the general things is described as feeling a sense of dread that something bad will happen, that it's, well, it basically it shuts you down. And to be fair, it does shut people down. Some people that are over anxious will tend to do things less, because each and every single thing is split down to a micro thing, and as they always say, don't sweat the small stuff, or as the saying goes. But easier said than done. To that poor individual, may feel like the world's about to end, and it's not going to end. That's not going to be easy. But if you can take simple steps, there are a lot of things that you can use to manage, and I think that knowing it is half the battle, and then being able to change those things that you can change, are definitely a positive thing. you need to look to it not as a problem to be solved, because you've probably got it for life. You can't just turn it off, as nice as it would be. But if you manage to have a less of a control on your life, then that's a great thing. Counselling is one course, I believe, that, not that I have looked myself, but I believe that there are probably YouTubers, and I should imagine more than just a few, that may have some answers to managing it. Everybody is different, so the way I manage it will not be exactly the same as Fred Blogs down the road, for example. But knowing that you've got it in the first place is half the battle. I mean, through counselling has helped, but also being able to change the way that things work for me, which I'm still working on, believe it or not, will be the key to success. Yes, I know I've used the term success, but the problem is, once you've something like it, it's going to affect you more times than others, and it's difficult to talk about because obviously it's something very close to heart. But I wanted to make this video because I'm about to have quite a bit of anxiety at the moment, because I'm going back to work after quite a long period of absence. So for all of you out there that watch this, see if you've got it. As I said, it affects people in different ways, and my own experiences probably aren't dissimilar from some experiences you may have had. It's when you don't know what it is, and that's half the problem. You think that you've got something potentially worse when it isn't, and exactly that. Anyway, to finish, as this is probably going to be the longest video I've ever made, I do apologise once again for being quiet for a week. This week has been a bit trying, but not impossible. And thank you for subscribing, and thank you for watching my videos. I do appreciate my subscribers. My subscriber count has grown a little bit more, but I would like to grow it even more so. I might be starting to investigate YouTube Shorts, but for now I'm just going to continue making these videos. So if you like, and please subscribe, and thank you for watching. This is 4046 out.